so excited.
It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
All right, it is Two Guys and a Goalie on a Tuesday at 12:03, presented to you by GS Construction, setting the industry standard for 50 years with quality, efficiency, and safety driving their success. GS Construction has a foundation built on teamwork, and now they want you to become a part of the team. Visit www.gsconstruction.ca and click Ready to Work, or visit their page at Indeed.ca. And with the Next Step Person program at GS Construction, it's not just a job, it is a career. Cass is not in the studio today, but we do have a good little boy. We do have a good little boy. Gager, who do you have over there?
This is Boone. Boone's in studio today. It's too long to leave him at home, and I have work, and I have a meeting, and so for me to get home to make the EST meeting, it's
so he's just riding along for the day.
He was chilling in the office there, but now we moved, so he was getting comfortable.
He looks happy.
He is happy. He's sniffing everybody. He was very interested in Fergie, actually.
Yeah, I could
was good.
See why he'd want to smell Fergie's prostate.
Well, Fergie just ate a A&W hamburger too. So
that makes sense.
Probably.
He has the same look on his face as Marshall does when I bring him in. You know, he's just happy to be around. He's like, I'm going to work here one day.
Yeah.
Like,
he was very excited to get in here, and he was sniffing everybody. So. Hopefully, I'll just try to keep him here. He doesn't unplug any cords, and we'll be good.
Two Guys, a Goalie, and a Good Boy today right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Let's bring in Matt Kassian. Cass is at work, but joining us today. Cass, how you doing, buddy? We got a mute situation. This is classic Cass.
No.
Oh, Cass, you've gone so long without the mute.
I've been so good on that too.
You have been.
I was saying I'm good, but I'm kind of like Evan Bouchard. You know, just. Once in a while, you turn the puck over. Guys, I don't know if you saw the nasty chat yesterday, but
post-game?
Bouchard hate was real post game. Like they win the game, and people were absolutely going nuts on Evan Bouchard. Like they were losing it. But I'm good. You know, it was a big win by the Oilers yesterday, and it's a little warm today. Might have to go wash the car before it gets freezing cold again. So yeah, it
would be a good day to wash vehicles.
Yeah,
my truck is absolutely filthy, but it sucks because I don't want to wait in the line for so damn long. You know
what? Do you go for the wand? Do you do it yourself?
Well, I mean, I'll do whatever. There's no lineup for.
Oh.
I don't mind doing it myself, especially right now. Like it's filthy right now after the trip last week down to Calgary and stuff.
Yeah.
And dirt road to get out to Blackie, like a gravel road. Like the truck is just it's probably the dirtiest it's ever been. So I would gladly go to a wand wash and do it myself. But the co-op like liquor, or not co-op liquor, like the co-op gas in the Hamptons there, they have a drive-through one. So I hit that sometimes, but I don't know.
I find the drive-through ones just don't get everything.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you got to do the wand wash. Like it gets it cleaner. Cause then I feel grumpy. It's like you go through the drive through, you think it's going to be clean. And then it's just like a big patch of dirt somewhere. And you're like, now I got to go wash it again.
I'm like an Olympic track star when I go to that place because you get all your change ready. You start putting it in, and you're like, okay, go. You know, when you go grab the brush
as fast as you can.
Yeah, as fast as you can.
Because I've only brought like maybe loonies or toonies, right? So I've got like 8 minutes to do the best job possible of cleaning my car, and I'm always like I'm counting it down, and I'm looking, and it's actually quite stressful at those places. I got to go with more money next time, or get a pass. I think you can buy a pass and then do it.
Or just
that's not a bad idea.
Yeah. The one I go to, you do your credit card, like you swipe your card and then you go.
Yeah, that's what I.
But that takes me back to junior. playing in Kamloops with my little 1992 Ford Escort, the green bomber. And, you're playing junior hockey, so you have no money. The stipend is nothing. And so it was that. It's like you would go with like $3. You'd have like 3 loonies or like a toonie and a loony, and you're like, okay, I got like 5 minutes. I gotta power this thing through. So it's like you're waiting, like you get the thing set, you get the, turn to the right one. And like, I don't even know, like back then I remember like, cause sometimes even before you do it, you could squeeze the trigger on the wand and like a little bit of water comes out. So I'm like, you're like using that as much as you can just to kind of pre-soak everything a little bit before just full on sprinting, like you said, and trying to get it done in like $3 worth of car wash money because you had none. But good times.
I'm not sure I washed a vehicle between the ages of 18 and 27. I don't think until I had to impress like Tammy when we were first dating, I'm not sure I ever washed it. I just wait till it rained and then go from there.
I did it at home quite a bit with the 4Runner. I would, in the carport, get the hose out, look like it's, put on slow music and go in slow-mo.
You doing car washes?
Yeah.
That's a good one. All right, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. We're going to get to this Andy Strickland speculation out of St. Louis about Mikko Rantanen and the Oilers. We'll get to that in a second. You brought it up, Cass. Like the Oilers win last night. Gage, you were working the game last night for Sportsnet. Cass, how would you summarize the win last night? Then we'll get to some of the Bouchard conversation in the nasty chat after.
Yeah, it was a solid but sloppy win. Sloppy in the first period, a little bit of slop in the third, but it was still solid. Like second period was really good. Once they scored that second goal, I wasn't really concerned. Like it kind of felt like they were in the driver's seat at that point, and they never really relented. So it was a little closer maybe than it could have been or should have been. But it was a solid win, guys. Like people complain all the time, like they never beat the bad teams, which I don't think is true. And not like Seattle's a horrible team. They're a by-committee team that struggles to score goals. And Edmonton gave them some opportunity from some of the turnovers and sloppy play. But overall, it's like it was a lot better than the win the other night, right? Like where it was like you just relied on Stuart Skinner the whole game. So I don't know. It was a solid win. It wasn't glorious. It wasn't beautiful. It wasn't overly exciting. But it was a solid win. You got the 2 points. You moved back into first.
Gager, how'd you view it?
I thought the initial Connor bump was big. Like he was motoring those first 5.
He was flying early.
Oh my gosh! Like he was looking for something to happen early, and then I just found that they were mismanaging the puck. Like they were just trying to do stuff that wasn't there because the Kraken aren't. They are not a team that generates a lot of offense on their own, right? They rely on mistakes of other teams, and I think the Oilers allowed them to feel a little bit more comfortable because they were giving the puck up so much. There was a little bit of pushback by the Kraken in the second, and then in the third, I thought Edmonton kind of sealed it with their puck management, their skill, and it didn't really look like they had much of a chance after that. It was it was a oh-hum game, kind of, I guess I would summarize it as. And look, that's what good teams do. They find a way to win close games.
It's not the end of the world to play a whole-hum game if you're coming away with the 2 points.
Look
right?
at the Kansas City Chiefs. Right?
Yeah.
They've been playing like games where everyone says, "Oh, they should destroy this team," and they're in those games and they're learning how to win.
What's it? 17 straight one-possession games that they've won.
Yeah,
something like that.
That's an amazing stat, and those are you learn way more about winning in those types of games than blowing a team out by 40 points.
Cass, as for the Evan Bouchard conversation last night in the nasty chat, I do have Cal in St. Albert texting in here, and you can text us to Two Guys A Goalie, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. He says, guys, I was at the game last night. The Bouchard hate in the crowd was the worst I've ever heard it. I mean, Bouchard, it seems like Edmonton always has to have this one eye test versus the numbers type of guy. And that's what Bouchard has basically come here, right, Cass? Is that not what he is now? Is he taking on the eye test versus analytical
absolutely
role?
Well, you haven't, not even the eye test versus analytical role. You have to have someone that you can blame for everything. I mean, that's an Edmonton staple, right? Like somebody gets blamed for everything. And it's like Darnell Nurse has been playing beautiful pass yesterday, by the way, on the Perry goal. But he's been playing rock solid really for most of the year, where, people last year and even year prior just harp on Nurse the whole time. But it feels like Nurse is playing really well right now. So you can't shred Nurse's game and be like, defensively this and that, and offensively, and Darnell Nurse is Nurse is playing well. You can't do it to too many of the forwards. You're not going to do it. McDavid, Draisaitl, Nuge has been playing well. Hyman's been putting the puck in the net. So it's like, who are you gonna jump all over? Because again, we have to have somebody in Edmonton. It feels like there's always someone, and I think Evan Bouchard is the guy. And that to me, like, and you mentioned like the eye test versus analytics. This is where you see the eye test, and then you have to go back to the analytics and say, okay, is this lining up with what I'm seeing? And I think what we're seeing, which is what you probably are always going to see, or typically going to see with Evan Bouchard, is high risk, high reward, where he's going to be a big part of your offense, and on occasion there's going to be defensive blunders. And I think, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think the numbers back that up, where he's still an elite offensive player. I know he hasn't scored a goal on the power play. Still a good power play. He's still a big insane, part of it.
But yeah.
Still insane. He gives you a lot of offense in the offensive zone. A lot of it, especially with his patience. He opens things up. And, that same patience on occasion is going to get him to trouble in the defensive zone. And yes, this season, it is a fair criticism to say he's turned it over too many times defensively. He has made too many defensive mistakes, big ones, when they happen. Yes. He has done that, but to just harp on him and sign him to 5 years at $5 million, and that's all he's worth, and that's all he's going to get, or trade him, to me, it's just that doesn't make sense. Because even from an eye test standpoint, when I watch, it's like, yeah, he's made some of those big mistakes, but he still brings you so much offensively. Like, you have to get comfortable with Evan Bouchard being the guy that's going to generate you a lot of offense, and occasionally he's going to screw it up in the defensive zone. That's the player that you have there. Now, if he can clean it up, cut down a little bit on some of those big mistakes, then you get the Evan Bouchard that you had in playoffs, which is still there as a player. And it's not playoffs. They didn't lose the game. So, I think the rage was overblown, at least to me. So there's listen, there's support for analytics there. There's support.
Gage, you've been doing a show here now for like 6 months, every single day from 1 to 3. You have your highlights, lowlights segment. Has Bouchard shown up on more of the highlights or the lowlights, do you think, so far?
It's all lowlights.
Really?
Yeah. I wonder with Evan Bouchard, because we saw a steady progression of his game. And then last year was a very high level of play where the season ended. So, but now you have a level of play that is a lot lower than what we saw last year. And I wonder if that was the pinnacle Bouchard. Because we look at his age and how well he's done. We think he's just going to keep getting better and better and better. But maybe that's the best that Evan Bouchard
he
can
was
get
at
to.
the best he could do last year.
So, and this year it's lower, but that's not really where it's at either. I think it falls somewhere in between where you'll see Evan Bouchard, because you're just not at your best every single game. You're not even Connor McDavid has off nights, right? So I think Evan Bouchard's game is somewhere in between, because he's a lot better than what he's shown this year. There's just too many factors that have gone in. I think there's pressure. He's lost a boatload of confidence. At times, the way he looks at things on the ice, the eye test, especially in the defensive zone, is just that urgency that you don't see in certain types of situations. But again, I don't think this is the real Evan Bouchard. I just think he's having a very tough time. Most likely, I think that this Four Nations thing could be the best thing for him. If he the time off here. Yeah. I was going to say, what, you think he should replace Petrangelo? Oh, no. We'll get to who replaces Petrangelo a little bit later on. He should just get away and not think about hockey for a few days.
All right, some comments on this. Of course, you can text us at 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999, and we will get to a few more of those as well. Over on the chat, a few people wondering, Penner's Pancake says, guys, I think it was more fear than hate The fear of the Oilers giving him 8 years and $10 million is very concerning. Other people are saying, guys, do you think there's any chance that they would just bridge Bouchard or that he would accept a bridge deal at this point? Like Adam Zamarmega. I'm sorry, dude. I butcher that. The D's might be silent. Adam Zamarmega. Anyway, it doesn't matter, I guess. He's like a bridge, like 2 years worth 6.5 or 7. And then like I don't think Bouchard's up for that. I think Bouchard is wanting a long-term deal at minimum. Like, well, Tommy's mentioned a number of times the Bouchard camp might be starting at 11, but I think at minimum Bouchard's probably hoping for like a long-term deal at 9. You know what I mean?
I'm sorry, Evan, but when I had the ISO cam on Rasmus Dahlin, and he's, I believe, 11.5, and I think that's the comparable that you're going in. And maybe stats-wise, there's a comparison. On the ice, there's no comparison compared to Dahlin. Like, Dahlin is a different breed of defenseman, more along the lines of like a Makar or Fox, where he can single-handedly back off defenders and gain the zone just from the back end, and just so smooth out there. So, but that's probably if you're looking at the comparisons, it's probably Dahlin that Evan Bouchard's more aligned to when it comes to negotiations.
Yeah, and the numbers, and that's what it's going to come down to. I legitimately think he lands somewhere around 10.
You think so?
I think so. Yeah.
Well, if you thought post game was interesting,
cap is going up. Percentage of the cap. Oh, I know. People are going to lose it, but that's like he's not going to get paid less than Darnell Nurse. From a percentage standpoint, his camp, as you mentioned, Gager, is going to look at Dahlin, going to look at the numbers and say, this is what we have. He should be at 11. And they probably land somewhere around that 10 mark. That's what's going to happen. People are going to lose their minds.
Do you think, but does any part of you, Cass, think that Evan Bouchard, does he want to be in Edmonton making $10 million with, when he goes to wash the F-150 in the wand wash, and getting told he's got to be better in his defensive zone by cars two stalls over?
You mean the Buick? And classic old person car, the Buick. And I mean, you have 10 million reasons to, right? Like, long term. So more than that, it's got 80 million reasons to, if it's at 10 million in 8 years. So yeah, I think he does on a winning team, wants to be back. The unknowns for him, if you go somewhere else, which is going to be the Oilers' standpoint, is that a lot of his offensive capacity has been buoyed by McDavid and Draisaitl, and he's not going to have those same numbers somewhere else. So that's going to be Edmonton's argument into it. Do I think he wants to be here? Well, if it's an 8-year deal at over 10 million, yeah, I think he's willing to deal with that. I would be willing to deal with that. Yeah, yell at me all you want. Throw Werthers at me.
Doesn't matter. I don't care. Doesn't matter to him. 780-218-9999. 780-218-9999. Lots of comments coming in. There's some other things that we definitely want to get to as well. 32 plus 1 says, so you'd have $50 million spent on 4 players. And well, at least around that. Yeah, because McDavid's going to come in at a pretty penny. We know where Draisaitl is going to be now. You got Bouchard and Nurse basically at 20 mil between the 2D. I mean, and then we'll get to this Rantanen speculation. I'm going to play the audio from the Strickland podcast here, and we'll listen to that. McDavid, Draisaitl, and Hyman together. Gidger, what do you think of McDavid coming back? I thought they were going to come out and just torch that. I thought they started well.
Yeah.
And then it kind of, but what do you think of them deciding to go with that option in his first game back?
I'm just embracing it from this point forward, Dusty. Yeah. Like, it's what they do. Yeah. So load them up, let them play together. It's the way it is. And and watching last night, and I was actually talking to one Gene Principe about it, because we had a discussion about Nuge, how his game has, I think, improved over the last few weeks. And I think just being put back at center and having his own responsibilities and not being a complimentary player, the Oilers are good down the middle, man. They've got really good centermen that are very capable at the NHL level. And I think those guys are going to play together so much anyways. You might as well just do it and let other teams worry about it. If it stalls or something, you can always adjust it, but they're always going to go back to it if they're down a goal or they need a spark or something. So just keep them together from this point on.
Cass, if the others in some imaginary world, man, Reed hammers those buttons loud, doesn't he? He plays track and field hard. Like, he doesn't mess around in that game. Cass, if the others came out at the beginning of playoffs and said, and made the bold statement to all the teams they're about to play that McDavid and Draisaitl will be on the same line with Hyman for the entire playoffs and we will win the cup or lose the cup in this fashion, would you be for or against that roster decision? Not the decision to announce that's happening, but for or against the roster decision?
I mean, I'm for it if they win. I'm against it if they don't. To me, it's just so situational. Like, it's such a situational thing
you have
where
to approach it, right? Like, yeah,
it really is. Like, where you have to look at who the matchup is, and even in playoffs, you have to look at what the matchup is. Like, the Seattle Kraken don't have offensive powerhouses; they're a by-committee team, and so going into that game, you're like, let's try to force a line to play up to us. And really give them something to handle. And against the team, when I look forward past the Detroit game to Toronto, where it's like, okay, against like a Toronto where they have more depth, they have the high-end guys that are there, they have their offensive punch of their own. Well, that situation to me, I'm like, okay, I could see where you split them up a little bit. So now if they were to do that, and if they were to announce it, am I for or against it? I probably would be against it because I'm like, oh, you're locking yourself in. If that's your mindset, I think that's a bad mindset to lock yourself in. So I'm going to say I'd be against it. But I'm against it just more toward the mentality towards what that decision would mean. I'm not against it in terms of having roster flexibility and being able to throw different things at different teams and stacking up a line to really make teams have to try to figure out how to contain.
All right, what do you think? 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. The troll says, I don't think they can beat a team like the Jets with those three guys on the same line, right? So that comes back to the situational thing.
That's what I mean.
About, right? Like, matchup like the Jets, you go over here. In another series, if you feel like putting them together for a game would help you in a series, you put them together for a game to help you in the series.
Yeah, like I would look at like LA and be like, okay, against LA, maybe you stack them up. Right, if you play LA again, like that, I'm like, okay, I could see that, but not, as you said, against the Winnipeg Jets, where there's just too much depth there. I don't think it necessarily works.
All right, Penner's Pancake says, hey guys, what if Craig Conroy calls and says we will give you Mackenzie Weegar at $6.25 million, 1-for-1? Would you do it? Weegar just turned 31, and he did just have a 20-goal campaign. Conroy might want to get younger. If they called and said, hey, we'll give you Mackenzie Weegar for Evan Bouchard? I don't think I could do it.
No.
And I like Mackenzie Weegar. Don't get me wrong, but
I really like Mackenzie Weegar. I think there's the enigma of Bouchard and what he's shown you from before, you just can't, because you know what he's capable of.
He's 25 years old and had an 82-point season last year. You know what?
He's going to get defensemen at that age always tend to get better as they get older. They're like wine, right? So, and he'll start to figure things out. And I know I think you talked about this morning, didn't you, Dusty, that or someone mentioned, but he plays with Ekholm. What if he doesn't play with Ekholm? Does that expose Bouchard even more?
I mean, probably. I mean, Ekholm's that good. Like, that's why, but I guess here's the thing. He does play with Ekholm. He's going to play with Ekholm for a few years. Cass, Bouchard has 49 points in his last 37 playoff games. Like, those are big numbers at the biggest time of the year, the toughest hockey, right? Yeah. Like, if he struggles in the playoffs this year, it would be disappointing. I don't see him. I mean, if he goes out and hangs 32 points in 25 playoff games again, but we're talking about
but to say struggle again, that struggle is we're looking at individual moments that we can all see. We're not looking at his game overall, where it's like, there's been some individual moments of struggle defensively, but offensively, he hasn't struggled. Again, I get he hasn't scored a power play goal, but it's not just about him scoring power play goals, right? Draisaitl scoring power play goals. McDavid's scoring power play goals. Nugent started to score some power play goals. Like, Hyman's got some power play goals. Like, it's not, to me, it's just it's oversimplifying the player to say that. Yeah, and don't get me wrong, Dusty. Like if he had a bad playoffs, yeah, we'd be disappointed. But I don't think he's playing bad right now. He's had some bad moments that we wanted to clean up, but it's not like he's playing horrible. It's not like he's playing awful night in and night out. It's just when he makes mistakes, generally they're big, and you see them. You see them. You don't necessarily see all the good things he does. Offensively, there's times, even if he doesn't get an assist, he doesn't get credit for some of the movement at the blue line where he pulls pucks, drags things, moves people, forces them to adjust, and then it opens up other space on the ice. I think it's oversimplification, and it's hugely jumping the gun to even consider to trade Evan Bouchard to me is just not. You
want this guy to be a long-term piece of this thing that you're trying to win a Stanley Cup with. I mean, it's just a matter of what the number comes in at. And this year, like last year, he had just over a point per game. He's fallen off that pace significantly this year offensively, but he's still pacing to be a 60-point D-man. So, I mean, 60-point D-man.
So you don't trade him.
You don't. How many teams move a 25-year-old minimum, even in maybe not his best offensive year, but 25-year-old 60-point defenseman?
The only time is if there's off ice.
I don't get it. I don't see it.
You don't. And even then, you're trying to fix those.
The Oilers are dying to find another one of these 25-year-old right shot defensemen. Like it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. All right, let's dive into Around the NHL. Here on Two Guys and Goalie. Two Guys and Goalie brought to you by GS Construction. So I saw this tweet earlier today. It said, Andy Strickland has been hearing that if not re-signed by Carolina, Mikko Rantanen may be headed to the Edmonton Oilers in the offseason, saying that there's a belief they can make it happen cap-wise. Rantanen also shares the same agent as Leon Draisaitl. So we're going to play this for you because I want to hear the audio. Like, I want to hear, just a second, I might have to reconnect my computer here because I don't want to just look at the tweet and say, I want to hear what was said. So let me just quickly reconnect this and we should play it. That channel's up, hey, Enzo? I want to hear what they had to say. This is from the Cam and Strick podcast. Oh, come on. Why is that not working? We gotta connect this because I want to hear this. Because to me, here we go. I think this might work now. It doesn't make a ton of sense, but let's take a listen here. Why is it not working?
I heard it.
Yeah, you heard it, but then it went away. I don't know why it keeps connecting out. Give me a second. We'll just give it a second. We'll try to come back around to it. Before we hear the clip, I don't know a world where this would exist. Like,
well,
the only world where would go ahead, Gager.
Oh, I don't know. Like maybe you know a little bit better than I do, Cass. But does it come down to like salary deferral, or is it still?
That's what
Is that okay? So that's
I was going to say that. Like it's the only world is if you could defer the salary like another 10 years. But the league is going to clamp down on that. Like you're running out of time to do those things because they're gonna shutter them. They're not going to let those happen.
Even with Connor's deal coming up,
Can I tell you where I think he's going to?
Here we go. I got it. Okay, here we go. So this is what was said on the Cam and Strick podcast out of St. Louis.
Can I tell you where I think he's going to sign?
Who? Rantanen?
Rantanen.
Can I guess?
And this is.
Can I guess?
This is not just speculation; it's informed speculation.
Give me a clue.
NHL.
Give me a clue.
I don't want to give you a clue. Just tell me where I'll tell you where he's going to go. Just guess. You may not get it, and then you're.
Are they a good team?
Great team, and then you're going to be like, "Wow, yes."
Dallas.
No.
Really?
No.
Even with the injury with
no. And I'm talking.
Sound bad.
I'm talking this summer. Who's going to pay?
I didn't release it.
Vegas.
Mikko Rantanen. Always a possibility.
Okay.
But
New York.
No. And who's going to pay Mikko Rantanen the big bucks? You know where he's going to end up? No.
Motherfucker.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Come on, you guys.
You want to know where Mikko Rantanen's going to end up?
Where?
Edmonton.
Oh, really?
He's going to Edmonton. How? They're going to be able to pay him, number one. And I think that there would be some interest from him.
How are they going to be able to pay him?
don't ask me to break down the cap.
That's a bit. Well, I'm just saying. It's not a $5 million guy.
There's some belief that they can make that happen. So you got to look at who's coming off the books and all that type of stuff. Salary cap going up. However they structure it. I mean, you just mentioned 5 teams. How the hell are any of those other teams going to pay him? You know what I'm saying? Everyone's up against the cap. Teams, obviously create space. Players come off the books. The cap goes up. Hey, if the cap goes up the way that it should and the way that a lot of people think that it should, I mean, it's not long, Cam, before we're at 102, 104 for the salary cap ceiling. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
So Edmonton and
wait, he was going to add something there.
Draisaitl and Rantanen, same agent. And you get some of these, guys from Finland and stuff like that. Listen,
that's a trifecta.
They
right
want to win a Stanley Cup. I feel like it's not long before Edmonton, and you want to keep, Connor McDavid and all that type of stuff. It's not long before. I think they're one player away from.
Okay. First of all, we apologize. I didn't know they were dropping MFers on the on the Cam and Strick podcast. So he did describe it as informed speculation, which I technically don't even know what the definition of informed speculation is, but I mean, if you're going to throw something like that out there, you also can't say, well, I don't need to work out the cap on it. If you're going to speculate that the Oilers are going to sign Rantanen in the offseason, you also can't go, don't ask me about the cap. I mean, I would assume you probably would have done your homework on the cap with the informed speculation. So, Cass, what do you think about this?
The budget is going to balance itself. Don't worry about it. Right? That's the politics line, isn't that? Oh, we don't have to worry about money. The budget's just going to balance itself. There's no way. The only way would be if you don't sign Bouchard and you do a crazy deferral, but it's not going to happen. No chance.
I don't see a world where it even remotely becomes possible, especially if they want to keep Evan Bouchard around. Then what are you going to have? You're going to have McDavid, Draisaitl, Bouchard, Nurse, and Rantanen taking up $65 to $70 million of your cap?
McDavid does the Crosby and signs the 9.7. That's what.
My God, can you imagine? That's like $6 or $7 million less than he should. So it's $7 to $8 million less than he should be getting.
That's what he does. That's what he has to do.
If Connor McDavid took a $9.7 million deal moving forward, he would become, I think, maybe the first player ever to have a statue built of them while they're still playing for said team. There's just no way. Now, I mean, and this is not a great look for our market, but people Strickland just wanted to create a bunch of clicks and buzz. Yeah. There's no better city to do it in than Edmonton, even with something as ridiculous as, they might, don't ask me about the cap, but they might sign Rantanen in the offseason based off informed speculation, and he shares an agent with Leon Draisaitl. I don't see it.
Well, if I can't see Rantanen not coming in at around that 13-14 million.
Is that the reason he's not staying in Colorado?
Why would they get rid? But it's weird too, because I mean, it seemed to catch a lot of people off guard that he got traded, first of all. And the fact that he says, look, I was willing to negotiate too. It was like, I came in at a number, they said, nope. And boom, that was gone. Just crazy. Just absolutely crazy. Even my dog can't believe that Rantanen got traded.
He passed out. He's just like,
he just whined a little bit there.
Hampton Steve says, guys, the only way to make Rantanen fit would be to trade Kane. Well, we'll see what happens with Kane. Looks like he skated this week, so there's that. Sign Bouchard to a lower cost bridge deal, and then maybe trade one more bigger to mid contract. Even then, I'm just not sure it works. It just sounds like an agent trying to juice up the market. Maybe that's where the informed speculation came from. Yeah. Was an agent just being like, just
dropping that out?
Yeah. He could literally sign anywhere. And then Andy was like, what about Edmonton? And he said, look, I said anywhere. And then you just pick Edmonton and you make it a thing. I don't see that. Juan texts in at 780-218-9999 and says, hopefully Mikko hates Colorado that much now. And he's just like, you know what? Screw it. That's happening.
Part of me thinks he could probably just go back to Colorado at the end of the season, right?
Can you imagine that? Marty Necas and then Rantanen comes back? That's a nice long game play, isn't
Yeah.
it? We haven't actually had a chance to talk about this deal since it happened on Friday. Cass, what do you think? Carolina, Colorado? I mean, Natchez, pretty good young player going the other way. Carolina gets Rantanen to load up and take another run at it. I still don't see a world where he doesn't sign there because I don't think you give up Marty Natchez for a rental. Yeah. But your thoughts on the deal, but both sides of this thing?
Yeah. I think it's a very good deal for Carolina as long as they can sign him. But they became the best team in the East. They became the team to beat in the East. Everything that they were missing, and not that Natchez isn't a good player. He's a very good young player. But Rantanen is one of the best in the league and brings Carolina that elite goal scoring ability. Just kind of takes him to another level. I mean, it makes Carolina that much better. You did give up a lot, especially if it ends up being a rental. But you're putting your chips in and you're saying, hey, we're going to go for this thing. Now, on Colorado's side, I really maybe jumped the gun on it a little bit. It's not like it was a bad return. Again, Natchez is a good young player. But by the same token, kind of feels like you didn't necessarily do all your homework from a negotiation standpoint to dig into it, especially based on what Rantanen came out and said. And that it's like, yeah, we had one conversation and I said I'd take a discount and then they traded me. Where it's not like, so it kind of feels like they rushed to that decision to make the trade. And maybe it was Carolina was like, hey, how about this? And they were like, okay, well, let us talk to the player. And Carolina said, well, you only have a couple days or we're going a different direction. And they just, I don't want to say they, Peter panicked like Chiarelli, but maybe they Peter panicked like Chiarelli a little bit. And we're just like, yeah, got to do it, and made the trade.
Remember when Chiarelli drafted McDavid and was like, and now we need to get the future defenseman to play alongside him, and chose Griffin Reinhart?
Yes.
That's a bit of a tough one. Gager, what'd you think of it? Like,
well, I just remember Natchez bulldozing down the left side and ripping it past Skinner. I'm like, ooh, and he was tops of the league in scoring.
He's still only like 5 or 6 points behind Rantanen.
I mean, he's a great player, but he's not Rantanen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jack Drury's a good player too. He's a good, probably, third line center that they can use and stuff.
And they need depth. Colorado's bottom six is not that good.
No, it's not. So they got a guy that's had some playoff experience too. Another kid that I bounced on my knee. My
goodness, baby bouncing boy. Eh?
No, I mean, just rubbing the talent off on them. Yeah,
you're not going to win those trades. You're never going to win them. You're never going to win them when you trade a player of the caliber of Mikko Rantanen. Unless you're getting Draisaitl back, I guess. That's
that type of thing.
Like a blockbuster like that.
Glue guy didn't know that Gager's dog was here. And, it sounded like he was on the Cam and Strick podcast.
Oh, that was pretty funny.
A little freaked out. What else? Also around the NHL here, I've got. I got distracted. Principe tweeted out Stuart Skinner's newest boy, the new baby, Darcy, is his name. Do you plan on going down to Stuart Skinner and saying, listen, I'm going to need to bounce that baby in my lap so he can play in the NHL one day?
If he wants if he wants them both to play in the NHL, let me come over and babysit for a few hours, Stu. And they're good as gold.
Cass, who would you have replacing Alex Petrangelo on Team Canada?
Ooh, I probably got to go Aaron Ekblad. I think if I look from a stylistic standpoint, depending on what you're going for, he's going to be the closest to, bigger body, plays physical, can play in the penalty kill, might axe someone with their stick, just full chop. I think that physicality and that edge he brings to his game makes him the most natural fit for me. So I probably would look towards Aaron Ekblad.
I was looking at our list. Remember we did our own Team Canada? Yeah. The one defenseman that we had on our list that is still out there and could replace him is Mackenzie Weegar. We had Mackenzie Weegar in our top 7. Gager, who would you throw in? Would it be Weegar?
Yeah, it's a no-brainer for me. He's participated with Team Canada at the World Championships. I think there's a little bit of loyalty there. I'd like to see him. Actually, I think he's a whale of a player.
Cass, how banged up?
I'd be happy with that too. Like,
how banged up do you have to be if you're Petrangelo to skip this thing? Like, he played 24 minutes for Vegas 2 nights ago. So
yeah, he wants to be able to continue to do that. Yeah, he wants to be able to continue to do that, right? And the opportunity to have 2 weeks to rest your body. You don't get that every year. And for a team that's still an elite team, still wanting to threaten for a cup and win another Stanley Cup, he's making his decision for what's going to be best for the team, not for Team Canada in this instance. So, hey, I'd rather have him if he's physically not there. If I'm viewing this from the lens of, wanting to cheer for Team Canada. Now, if I'm viewing it as a lens of wanting to cheer for the Edmonton Oilers, I want him to play and, stay marginally unhealthy because that gives the Oilers a better chance long-term from a playoffs standpoint. But you want him to recover. I mean, you don't want a player that's not physically going to be able to be there or is kind of humming and hawing his way around the ice because he's banged up. You have to be pretty banged up, but yeah, it's just, the 2 weeks was too much for him not to jump at, to say, I've got this nagging injury. This thing probably isn't going to go away unless I get legitimate time off. It's not bad enough to keep me out of the lineup and not playing now, but I don't want it to get it to that point. So, hey, I need a break. And I respect that decision.
Nielsen, Cass, and Gage are here on Two Guys and a Goalie, presented to you by GS Construction. If I was to set the total at 2.5 on additional players who are going to step away from Four Nations across all 4 countries before the tournament starts, what would you set it at?
I'd go over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were considering the over on Canada, weren't you?
Yeah.
You were, weren't you?
Yeah, I thought you were going to Canada.
I wonder if it's the Olympics, does Petrangelo still say, I'm not doing it?
Nope. No, he's doing it.
You
If it's
play
the
through
Olympics.
the Olympics, yeah. The Olympics is a different
It's a different, it's completely different. So
I guess we'll see. We'll find out. Like we expect it to be different. We're going actually.
I know.
Coolbet is sending Huss and I down to Boston for the 2 games on Monday the 17th, and then we'll be there for the gold, or are we calling it a gold, or the final, or whatever it is. We'll be there Thursday night for that as well. So I'm hoping we get Canada, U.S. in Boston. Like, it'll be that'll be quite the scene. I mean, great. I don't want to be there for Sweden and the U.S.
No.
Like, that would be a bit of a buzzkill. So
not many Swedes in Boston, I don't think.
Hopefully they can. Hopefully they can get it done. So yeah, all right. Mackenzie Weegar, Aaron Ekblad. Good. I mean, either one. Either one you're going to be okay with.
I think so.
What do you think about Drew Doughty? Drew Doughty wants to play on this team. Would you just say, Drew Doughty, go play?
But no, I'm going, you've barely played. You haven't played this year. You're coming back from injury. No. That's what I would say.
Your dog sniffing Hernan's crotch, and it's hilarious.
My dog is... What
Hernan can't get away from me.
Jesus. Yeah. Wow.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah. He's a little bit of a crotch sniffer, but
yeah.
That's how he
that's how he knows, right? That's good. All right, let's get to hired or fired for GS Construction, where they are hiring now. Become a part of their great team today by visiting gsconstruction.ca or their page at indeed.ca. For the past 50 years, the foundation of GS Construction has been built on efficiency, quality, and safety. Take your career to the next level. Join the team at GS Construction today. Leon Draisaitl is going to win the Art Ross, the Hart, the Lindsay, and the Rocket Richard. Hire it or fire it?
I'll hire it. For sure. There's a possibility. He could win the Selke, eh?
I don't think he'll win the Selke. Can you imagine if he also took
When's the last guy to win the Art Ross and the Selke? Was it Fedorov? Did Fedorov do it? Or the Hart and the Selke? He won 2.
I think Fedor, did he do it in the same, are you talking just in the same season?
Same season, yeah.
Fedorov, for some reason I'm ranking every player in NHL history right now on my show. 31-40 tomorrow, by the way.
Okay.
Who was it? Somebody got, there's somebody in the top 30 that I don't know if they did in the same year. You're right. Fedorov, Hart, Selke, Lester B. Pearson, 93-94.
Yeah.
That's pretty insane.
That's crazy.
What did he put up offensively that year? 93, 94. He had 56 goals, 120 points, and was the best defensive player among forwards.
Yeah.
Like that's a
pretty
crazy season.
Well, when your coach says that if he played a couple more seasons on D, because Bowman would put him
Would have won a Norris?
He would have won a Norris.
That's insane. So Leon Draisaitl right now, Cass, if we're just kind of looking at this here, he's by far leading the race for the Rocket Richard. He's got 35 goals. He's going to smash through 50. He's 2 points behind Nathan McKinnon, who no longer has Mikko Rantanen riding shotgun with him. If he leads the league in goals and points, he's going to win the Hart and he's going to win the Lindsay. I think I'm going to hire this. Are you going to hire it or fire it?
I'm going to be contrarian. I'm going to fire it. It's still going to be really hard to win all of them. Really hard to win all of them.
I think, and
there's still going to be people that are going to look at McDavid and go, "It's just because he's with McDavid." From a voting standpoint,
yeah, there will be
some of those guys, but I also think that if McDavid down the stretch, if Draisaitl has a chance to like clean sweep all of them. He might just feed him like crazy and be like, "Let's just go get this for you." Like,
and Draisaitl go, "Can we renegotiate my deal?"
I'm going to want more. The other forwards, I'm just looking top 50 scorers in the league right now. Top 50 scorers in the league. Marchenko in Columbus is plus 29, has 53 points. What a year. Jack Eichel's plus 28, 62 points. Leon right now is plus 27. 75 points. So, he's having a hell of a season. Hire it or fire it. I should be super aggressive in the Oilers charity poker tournament this afternoon.
Hire it. Do it. Yeah.
We got a meeting at 6.
I do have a meeting at 6. I told Bruce and William Huff, he goes, the cards start getting dealt at 3. I said, do you mind if I'm eliminated by 5:30? Because I have to be back at the office for this meeting at 6. And he's like, do whatever you want. So I was just thinking, should I just be crazy aggressive poker guy right off the top?
Yeah. Just throw the wrench in. Play unorthodox. The problem with doing that, because you have to be back here, you're going to start winning.
I know. And then I'm going to have this huge stack and I can't leave. I'm going to be like, guys, I'm going to email you the agenda for the meeting. Get started without me. If I go heavy enough, I could be eliminated by 3:30 and have a nap before the meeting. So there's really no downside to it. I either build up a huge stack or I'm sleeping in my truck for a couple of hours this afternoon.
I'm going to hire it. You're going full throttle.
So a bunch of the dads and I, we were playing poker just with some quarters on Saturday night at this tournament we were at in High River. And we didn't have enough quarters to like play a legitimate game. So all we did was dealt the cards. And if you were in, you put a quarter in. Yeah. And that was it. There was no raise. There was no. Okay. So if you were in, you put your quarter in. Then we just flipped over our cards and we just laid out the next 5. And it just, all it taught me was that some bad hands win poker. Like it comes down a lot to raising bluff. Because we were just like horrible hands were winning. We're just like, man, imagine if you had the balls to stay in with these types of hands and win. It was interesting.
That's I always fold, and then at the flop,
I'm like, ugh. Same thing happened. I had a unsuited 6-8. And I was down to like my last quarter. Yeah. And I was like, man, I'm not playing this. And I threw it away. And I swear to God, a full house on the flop. And I was like, I grabbed my cards. I turned them over to the boys. I was like, look at this. Yeah. Like I hadn't won a hand yet. It was crazy. It was insane. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. It'd be fun. And then obviously tomorrow night, Lock Shop Poker Event Series number 5, 8 o'clock. We'll be streaming right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Download the Coolbet Poker software if you want to play with us tomorrow night. That should be a lot of fun. Hire it or fire it. Jeff Skinner should be in the lineup ahead of Kapanen.
I'm gonna hire it. Like he's I think he's close again. Like he scored a goal. I didn't understand actually him coming out.
Scored on Saturday.
I think. What more do you want from this guy? I think it's. I do like Kapanen's game. Don't get me wrong. He's a little bit bigger of a body and maybe a little bit more responsible defensively. But I just think you're gonna need scoring from different places. You want Skinner to feel good about himself going into playoffs because I think he's going to be needed. Yeah, I'll hire it.
Cass, what do you think? Hire or fire it? Skinner
I'm firing it. I'm firing it. You're not going to have him playing in your top 6, so you're going to go with someone that's more defensively steady, which is Kapanen. Fire it.
Yeah, I don't know what Skinner's going to be now the rest of the way. Like spot duty. Put into the bottom 6 when they don't have anybody else to play bottom 6?
I guess.
Is that kind of what it is? And then if a top 6 forward goes out, Cass, would you elevate somebody from the bottom 6, or would you just put Skinner in there?
I'd try Skinner there. In that situation, I'd try Skinner.
Yeah.
And what, he got a brief look. The first game, McDavid was suspended, but then it was just like...
Yeah, no, I was hoping that they kind of just left him there for 3 games.
Yeah, they didn't.
But they didn't.
Yeah. All right, Cass, you kind of answered this one a little bit earlier on, but I'm still going to ask it just for the conversation. Hire it or fire it, Carolina is now the best team in the East. Cass, you already said
hire it for me,
you're hiring this thing, right?
Yeah, I'm hiring it.
We asked Craig Button this today,
yeah.
and he would have fired it if we were playing the game with him. Yeah, he still doesn't like their blue line compared to the last couple years, right? They've lost some of those key defenders that they had the last few years, so I could see his case there. Gage, where do you come out on this before I chime in on a little bit?
I'm gonna fire it as well. I don't know what the goaltending situation, and I like
Not going to trust Freddie Anderson in the playoffs.
I don't trust Freddie Anderson to say he's not feeling well and not playing a game 7 now. I don't, it's just weird that I need a break or something in the middle of playoffs when he's needed. So, their forward group is dynamite, and adding Rantanen definitely puts them closer. But I'm going to fire it.
I'm a little torn on it. I think I'll fire it as well, just out of respect to a Washington Capitals team that has a plus 53 goal differential.
Exactly.
Like, they've scored 171, most in the conference. They've allowed 118, best in the conference on both sides. So I will go there. However, with Carolina and, being a fan of Finnish hockey players, I have a soft spot for Sebastian Aho and Teravainen when he was there.
Yeah.
When they had Kotkaniemi as well. The one thing we've always said about Carolina is that they didn't have
the superstar.
Sebastian Aho, great player, probably not going to be the number 1 guy and a Stanley Cup winner.
No.
Svechnikov, great talent. I think there's still more there with him. Probably not going to be the number 1 guy on a Stanley Cup winner. Mikko Rantanen has been close to being the number 1 guy. He was kind of a 1A, 1B, 1C type of thing on a Stanley Cup winner. So they do have the one thing that they've never had before. I just think they should have got him 2 years ago. Yeah. When they still had the other guys.
Yeah.
So I think I'd still lean Washington, but justified case for Carolina as well, for sure. All right, that's going to do. What's coming up on EST Afternoons there? What do you got?
Well, we'll just go over the Kraken game last night. Highlights, lowlights, heat and smoke. We got Tyler, I'm going to butcher this, Madarez from Sirius XM NHL. And then just close out the show with Reed and Jay and get ready for the big meeting after Dusty brings home all his winnings.
Big meeting. I would go win this tournament with play money. Hey, would you play Pickard more? I wanted to ask you that today.
No, I think it's perfect.
Leave it where it is. Okay, I was just curious about that. All right, that's coming up on EST Afternoons from 1 to 3 right here at Edmonton Sports Talk. From 3 to 6, Reed Wilkins and the glue guy, Jay Milne, on the Reed Wilkins Show as well. So we got 5 more great hours of live programming here on TuneIn, on iHeart, and, of course, at EdmontonSportsTalk.com. If you're watching over on YouTube today, turn on autoplay, and that'll take you right on over to EST Afternoons, which is firing up right away. For Cass, who just disappeared already, and Joaquin Gage, I am Dustin Nielson. That's going to do it for 2 Guys and a Goalie, brought to you by GS Construction. 2 Guys and a Goalie again at noon on Thursday. I will talk to you tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock on The Nielson Show.